So after winning 5 straight, the Vols dropped 3 in a row. A former leader of this football team is no longer a Vol. The fan base is divided. You're listening to Talkin VAWLS. Welcome to episode 9. My name is Boogie Bentley, joined by Mr. Jason Phillips.
Hey, Boogie.
You sound excited, my friend. And Snake D.A.
What's up, Boogie? What's up, JP?
What's going on, D.A.?
Let's just jump right into it, man. Right off the bat, I think the hot topic is Mr. Jalen Hurd. Where do we start with this guy? JP, you want to start us off? What? I honestly don't even know what to say.
Sum it up in one word, JP, right there.
Shocked.
Quitter.
I got prima donna. How about that?
That works. All those work. So where do we start with this thing? You know, all year long we've been talking about the Vols and how they have so much talent. And, you know, they rattled off 5 wins in a row. And after that, even through that 5-game win streak, we kept saying something is off with this team. Something is wrong with this team. And in that Georgia game, we saw issues with Jalen Hurd. We heard concussion. We heard lower extremity. We heard upper extremity. Something was off in that Georgia game to me. I think that's where this whole thing started. What about you, JP? Do you believe anything that Jalen Hurd's stepfather is spitting out, that this is a concussion, he has a great relationship, there's no issues, and he's moving on? Because I don't. What do you think?
No, I don't believe any of that. I think that it came to a head at Georgia, and that's where this 3-week saga began, but it sounds like that it started well before that. Sounds like it was even some last year. You know, if you all recall, remember before that Northwestern game in the bowl game, there was discussion at whether Hurd was even going to play that game. And, you know, we all thought it was injury, and I'm not buying that. I think that there was discussion about him leaving before then, and I'm not for sure that he didn't think about, you know, quitting the team at the end of last year and not even playing in that bowl game. And, you know, looking back on it now, it would have probably been better if Jones would have just said, see you later. But him or none of us was going to sit there and would have, if we'd had the opportunity, and not tried to get Jalen Hurd to come back. But it looks like it's just festered up, and it's became a huge issue, there's no doubt. And I think he smarted off to the coaches there at Georgia, and I think he was benched, and I think he was suspended for that Texas A&M game, and I think Tennessee tried to cover it up. And then it sounds to me like that he just flat out quit on the team Saturday. I mean, they're saying that he refused to go back into the game. And if that's the case, I don't have anything for him. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, he'll never be a Tennessee Vol.
Yeah, I don't have any use for him anyway. If he had finished out the season and then quit or transferred at the end of the year, fine. Yep. You know, at that point in time, I wish him well. Hope he has a great career. But to do it in the middle of the season, you know, as a fan, we can't take it personally, but his teammates can. You know, he's not a good teammate. He's definitely not a VFL in my eyes. And you can look at it so many ways. We've heard so many rumors about what actually went down in that team meeting. Did he come out and say he was going to transfer, or do you think his teammates stepped up and said, you're a quitter and we don't want you on this football team anymore. You're a cancer, and maybe this is what it takes. Maybe they're cutting that cancer out and they turn things around going forward. I don't know. That's the optimist in me hoping that that's what's going to happen. But Snake, what's your take on this whole issue with Jalen Hurd? His parents, his uncle, his brothers, his cousins, everybody's coming out of the woodwork. He's probably got a nephew out there somewhere that's got something to say about this.
I have no idea. There's like 10 different stories of what happened. I guess the one I believe is probably what they were talking, what you guys were saying. You know, not enough I formation running downhill for him, just using him as a blocking back primarily. But how can he say that? The guy's 400 yards away from the all-time rushing, you know, leader at Tennessee. He's something like he's way up there on carries, you know, all time. I just don't understand what his big deal is.
something I noticed in that South Carolina game, I don't know if you guys saw it originally. I didn't see it live. I saw the post on VolQuest, and then I mentioned it to JP and went back and rewatched the replay. On Hurd's first touchdown that tied the game 7-7, did you guys see the reaction after that? Nobody celebrated. Not a single – even as soon as the officials signaled a touchdown, nobody even seemed to be excited. And as they came to the sideline, there were no high fives, no chest bumps, nothing. A few backup guys kind of gave Hurd the pat on the back, but there was something wrong with that team at that time because nobody celebrated Jalen Hurd getting in the end zone to tie the ball game at 7.
Yeah, I didn't see it live, didn't notice it, but I went back and watched that, and it was evident that there wasn't anybody that was really excited to see him score that touchdown.
I just maybe it's just wishful thinking. You guys know me, I'm the sunshine pumper, right? That's the reputation I have on this show. I just hope that he is the issue that we've talked about all year long, that we've been wondering what is the problem. I hope that problem is Jalen Hurd. He's gone. Good riddance. See you bye. We're not going to have an issue this week at Tennessee Tech, so hopefully Kamara gets healthy before we play against Kentucky. That's my hope, and hopefully this is the issue that we have been wondering about all year long.
Yeah, I think that the players probably, if that's what's going down, I think the players are going to be able to move on, and I think they're going to gel and come together. I think this has got to hurt Butch Jones a little bit. This Jalen Hurd was Butch Jones's diamond, in his recruiting classes that he brought in. This was the guy, the 5-star running back in state. I think this has got to burn Butch a little bit. And I think that's kind of probably, I don't know, he's got to be able to move on from this and be able to pick it up and go on.
How much blame do you put on Butch? The rumors out there about him talking about running the I form and Hurd wanting that more pro style and running downhill. It is kind of awkward the way the story came out to go back and look at that bowl game. They did run a lot of I form and they did have success with it. So was that to convince Hurd to come back and then they went away from it? Because to me, you can't expect a coach to completely change his offense because of one kid. That's ludicrous. But they did change it in that bowl game, and I want to know why. You kind of want to know why that Butch did that. And if he did promise something to Hurd, then, you got to put some blame on Butch for that. He deserves some heat for that.
Yeah, but the only heat he deserves is making the promise, really, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Why did you promise something?
I think it's because he had so much invested in Jalen Hurd. I mean, this is the guy that set the face for his new rebuilding brick by brick, right?
I agree with that, but at the same time, why, if you make that promise, why do you not throw some I form in there?
Yeah.
Because it worked in the bowl game.
Everything worked.
You've not ran it one time. You've not ran it one time this season. JP had a good idea. They ought to come out against Tennessee Tech this week and just straight up run I form down their throat all game long. I would love it.
That's what we would do, isn't it?
But now they did run the I formation in that Appalachian State game in the first half. I think they said that they ran it 9. They had 9 plays under center, just in the first half. But obviously we struggled that game, so it makes me think then that the coaching staff went away from it because it wasn't what they like to do or typically do. So I think it's just lost. I think probably going back to should Jones be blamed for some of it? I mean, I certainly think that he's promised him that. I think that's why we saw it so much in that bowl game and everything like that. So, but I'm same way with DA. I think that Jalen Hurd was the player. I mean, going into this season, Jalen Hurd was the offense. I mean, he was the star of the team. I mean, you go to a game down there and they introduce the players and he gets by far away the loudest cheers of anybody, and talking about how great of a running back he is, and everybody was taking up for him. I mean, I was doing it. I mean, I was talking about how it was really a disservice to him, really, that he was stuck in that type of offense, and offensive line wasn't blocking. I mean, I said it many times. If he had the offensive line that Alabama's got, that he could put up numbers that like Derrick Henry has, and but certainly doesn't sound like he's got the desire or possibly the attitude to do that. That's what's disappointing about it to me. I mean, it's just so disappointing that he seems to be talented and stuff like that, but man, if you've got that all me attitude and things, I mean, you can really bring your teammates down. I mean, it just continues and grows and grows and grows, and I definitely feel like that this is something that's been going on for a while, and now it's just blowed up. You know, we were kind of masking all that when they were 5-0. They were still going. It was still behind the scenes, and it was causing problems, I'm sure. But then after that first loss and then that second loss, you could certainly tell then that there was some issues with him to just come up and just quit with 4 games to go.
Well, it's like I said. How many times did we say it throughout the season? There's something going on. What is it? You know, but you just can't put your finger on it until everything comes to the surface. And I hate it. I hate it for him, man. I really do, because we all wanted that kid to succeed. But there was a huge difference between Jalen Hurd, the freshman, the sophomore, versus Jalen Hurd this year. Just a big difference in his approach to the game. And you can, like I said, it all comes to the surface now. But let's talk about another hot topic in Vol Nation. Like I said, this fan base is 100% divided now. After this third loss, it all hit the fan, and we're divided. You're either with Butch or you're against him. That seems to be the trend. So let's talk about coaching. What does Butch Jones need to do? What changes does he need to make? And yes, I'm talking about DeBoer. That's the one we have discussed, argued, disagreed on all year long. So, JP, you and I have been the ones that have disagreed on this probably the most. What do you think needs to happen with the board, with the offensive coordinator situation?
Well, I just think that there's a lot more qualified candidates out there in the coaching profession than probably Mike DeBoer. I think it was a safe hire for Jones because he knew that DeBoer would come in and run the offense that he once ran. And, you know, I've admitted it. I mean, this is Butch Jones' offense. He's the one that calls it the infallible offense, and, you know, it's a great offense and so forth. And I'll admit, you know, we had nearly 700 yards against Texas A&M, ran up and down the field. You know, if it hadn't been for the 7 turnovers, I think Tennessee wins that game by at least 10 or 14 points. So, I mean, it's obvious that the offense can work. But when you got a quarterback that is as inaccurate as Joshua Dobbs, I'm not for sure that any offense is going to work.
Snake, I'm gonna let you reply as much as I want to reply. I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go first on your overall thoughts, just based on what JP said in general. Yeah. Offense coordinator, quarterback, Butch Jones. What do you think?
I don't think there's any way you can get on that train to get rid of Butch Jones yet. I mean, he's at least raised us from the dead a little bit. Our hands sticking up out of the grave at this point. DeBoer, I kind of agree with JP that you've got Joshua Dobbs, and then you've got this cancer. If this is what happened with Jalen Hurd this year, I think we're going to have to see where he goes from here, because he's going to have, hopefully Kamara will be back. He's going to have 2 running backs fit for his system. But, you know, Josh Dobbs is not, everybody knows he's not accurate enough. But can they dial up some stuff to take that pressure off of him? We'll see what happens. Dobbs just has looked horrible in the last 3 games, and obviously that's why I think we've lost those games. He hasn't been able to just pull it out and make some plays to just will us to a win. But even, you know, I didn't think that Shoop had a very good game on defense. We've got all these freshmen out there, and we're putting them on an island and just hoping that this Bentley kid doesn't come through, and he did. So, but, you know, I'm not on board with getting rid of anyone right now. I'm hoping that Butch's plan is that he's using DeBoer because he's familiar with him, he knows him, and he's doing his homework, and in the next year or two he's going to bring in somebody who's really going to be the man moving forward.
I'll refuse to criticize Shoop. South Carolina was not his best game by far, but I refuse to criticize that guy for what he's done with the talent that he's had based on injuries. I think he's a world-class coach, and I hope Tennessee hangs on to him as long as possible. DeBoer, I've defended that guy all year long, and it's one of those things where you look at it, you look at the Florida game. I thought he called a good game against Florida. You look at Texas A&M. He called a great game against Texas A&M. Virginia Tech, he had moments where he looked brilliant against them, but then he has moments like Alabama that, and we talked about it last week. I don't know that it matters what he calls against that team, but South Carolina was hands down his worst game of the year. And I agree with what you just said, Snake. I would love for Butch to go out, and I would love for the athletic department to put the money in for Butch to get a big-name hire, get a guy that's going to come in and change this offense. But the problem with that is Butch Jones is not going to let them change that offense. And unless he does, I think it's going to be more of the same. Everybody wanted to fire Mike Bajakian, and I thought he did a good job calling the plays in this Butch Jones offense. I think DeBoer does a good enough job in this offense. So unless Butch is willing to step back and swallow his pride and let an offensive coordinator come in and run their offense, I don't think we're going to see anything change. And I'm not saying I love Butch Jones, man. I'm all in. I am all in. But if he's not willing to the big thing I hear about him is his ego and his pride. And if he's not willing to swallow that pride and make a change if need be, and that doesn't just mean I'm going to fire this guy or that guy and going to bring somebody else in to run my offense. It means letting a true offensive coordinator come in and do what they do.
Yeah, but we want this new up and coming guy that's going to come in and take what Butch does and adapt it to being able to win big time SEC type, top 10 football games. And if he can find somebody that can do that, now we don't want somebody that's just going to come in and run the same old system, because these kids in middle school and high school, they're all running this read option, right? Everybody's up to date on that. Everybody
offense.
Knows that.
Yeah.
All the kids growing up now are defending it. Everybody can defend that now. So if he gets the guy that can come in and develop this, maybe not. I mean, you don't have to just go straight back into former I formation, but you can take this and develop it and move it forward to the future. Then I think that's what everybody's looking for.
But do you think Butch Jones is willing to step back and swallow his pride and let somebody do that? That's the biggest question to me.
I don't know if he is or not, but if he's not,
he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a choice.
Well, it's going to be his downfall.
Yeah.
He does have a choice. He has a choice. He's faced with that
it's
choice.
either do that or
you either do it or you
lose
don't.
His job here.
Exactly.
I mean,
and that's where I'm at this point. That's where, after the South Carolina game, as mad as I was, it's just a typical JP and Boogie.
You wasn't mad.
Absolute disaster.
You weren't, but Boogie was.
In game was a disaster.
Oh.
But once it's over and we step back and look at it, I partially agree with JP that, I don't know that DeBoer's the guy, but I don't know that anybody's the guy until Butch is willing to step back and let somebody else take over that side of the ball.
Well, here's my thoughts on the whole deal. I want Butch Jones to succeed. Number one, because he's the head coach of the University of Tennessee, and I would want nothing more for that bunch to go 15-0 every single year. So I don't want Butch fired. That's the last thing I want Tennessee to do, is go through another coaching change, because it does nothing but hurt the program. The only way that you're going to have success like that is if you get a home run hire like Michigan did, and that's not going to happen. I mean, there's nobody out there like Jim Harbaugh that's going to come.
Let me throw this out there. I think there is somebody out there, and this I think there's only one person that Boogie. I think Boogie, if this one person came here, would accept it.
I have no idea what you're going to say right now.
If he's going to start some groomers now.
Or Peyton Manning.
Listen.
Yeah.
That ain't happening either.
Okay, Boogie, is there anyone that you would bring in here to replace Butch? I'm putting you on the spot right now.
That's not named Nick Saban.
That's not. Yeah, no, we can't bring Nick Saban in. Listen, there's only one person I think you would accept, and that's Chip Kelly.
I would be the most excited person on the face. I would fire Butch Jones today if you told me I could bring Chip Kelly into Knoxville.
Yeah, I knew you would.
You're right. I would love it.
I mean, if you're going to go all in, maybe if things get bad enough, that's where they could go. But other than that, no, you got to stay with him.
Well,
man,
I'm throwing that out there for you, Boogie, to think about it.
I'm starting firebutchjones.com tonight.
You going to sign a petition?
I love Butch, man, but Chip Kelly, to me, when you compare him, Chip Kelly is Butch Jones 2.0. He's Butch Jones elevated, man.
Yeah.
You know, Butch, he does a good job recruiting, or has up to this point. He's on their level. Chip Kelly is that times 1,000, man.
I'm not sold on Chip Kelly. But
what?
anyway,
look what he did with Oregon. Why? Because of what he did in the NFL? There's a big difference between coaching in college and the NFL.
Yeah, he's just got that much more experience now up there. So
yeah. Chip Kelly's the man. They killed it. He knocked it out of the park because I had no idea what you were talking about.
Yeah,
I'm so excited I can't see straight.
Well, let me voice my opinion on the overall coaching. The concern that I really got about it, I mean, I'm not crazy about some of the plays and some of the complacency play calls and conservative stuff that the board does. But what bothers me really more than anything is this coaching staff in general, especially the offensive coaches, other than the board and Scott, have been there the whole time. And the offensive line has not improved in 4 years. They play extremely soft. They're not disciplined. They have so many mental busts every single week. Apparently, we cannot block a 3-4 defense. I mean, that's all we hear every week. Well, ETSU we play this week runs a 3-4, so we expect to struggle. Whatever, that's why they get paid the money. I'm not buying that. I'm not a big fan of Mahoney. I don't think that he has developed any of those offensive linemen whatsoever. Azani, our wide receivers get zero separation. There is no threat of anybody stretching the field against Tennessee. I mean, with Tennessee. I mean, you saw it. You saw it Saturday night. I mean, South Carolina was asking us to throw, and we still couldn't do it.
But can you really blame that on Azani and the wide receivers, or can you blame it on the play calling?
Well,
because I think if you throw the ball up, I think if you throw the ball up to Jennings, he's going to go get the football.
Yeah,
and that's a play call. But it's also on Dobbs. Because we've talked about it. He's going straight to his check down. He doesn't want to throw it downfield. Joshua Dobbs has not looked the same. As much as I love the kid, and people can say bench him all they want, I disagree with that. I disagreed with you on that. I don't know if you're still on that thought process or you've moved on.
What's the most important position, arguably, on a football team? What does everybody talk about? What does the NFL, what's the highest paid position in NFL?
Well, okay.
What is it?
You can say that. How many games has Joshua Dobbs won this year?
What I'm getting at, Boogie, is it's the quarterback, right?
Well, that's Joshua Dobbs. That's what I just said.
But what I'm getting about is we don't even have a quarterback coach.
Oh, I agree.
We don't even have a quarterback coach.
Yep.
We have a quarterback coach, just not a coach.
It's a GA.
Yeah, that don't count.
It's a GA, and then
that should be a coach, not a GA.
That to me is absolutely mind-boggling that we do not have a true quarterback coach on staff. If you watch Josh Dobbs,
that comes back to Butch.
Well,
man.
I know that's what I'm saying. That's what I've got more issues. You probably not going to believe this, but I'm willing to give the board another year, because if Guantano is able to throw the football, I think this offense has a chance to be extremely successful. But with somebody that is completing less than 50% of their passes, and they're throwing balls at the feet of receivers that are wide open, it's going to be hard to have any kind of offense whatsoever. And that's what's happening.
The offensive line coach, okay. I agree with you that they haven't developed. It doesn't look like they've just played horrible. But look at how many of the offensive linemen have been injured this year?
They all stay injured. It's every single year. That's another issue that's been going on down there for some reason.
I mean, you've got an offensive line that's just a hodgepodge the whole season.
Yeah, but
and then you got a quarterback who can't read defenses, so there's no reason for anybody. The defense can key on that, and then you've got a running back that doesn't want to be there, and then you've got a guy who's calling plays that we don't have any faith in. So I think it's just a lot of different issues have come to the head right now.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a big old cluster. There's no doubt about it, and this infallible offense, as Butch Jones wants to call it. I don't know if 297 yards and 12 for 27 passing for 160 some is what you call infallible, but I wasn't awful impressed against South Carolina Saturday night. And I said it Saturday night after the game, it reminded me of that Kentucky game, Dooley, in so many ways. And I think that a lot of the progress that Butch Jones has made in the 4 years that he's been there, I think it took a step back.
Yeah.
I don't see how that loss cannot hurt the recruiting. I've been following the recruiting, and they've been saying for a year now that there's a lot of guys that are interested in Tennessee, but they were waiting to see how this year played out, and could they win the games, the big games, which we thought after we beat Florida and Georgia that we were okay. And I don't think the two losses to Alabama and Texas A&M was exactly going to hurt us. But when we went down there to Columbia Saturday night and looked like that we was about as interested as I would be going to a darn dance or something. I mean, there was no energy. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, it was just absolutely to the point that I'm just like, why do I put forth the effort to sit around and care about this team as much as I do when it's obvious that they're just going through the motions. I mean, it's really hard to swallow.
Hey, let me ask you this: Does Jalen Hurd leaving give Butch Jones kind of an out for some of this stuff?
I don't think so.
So I think that
I don't think
this has given him a little bit of a. It's taken some of the heat off. It has personally for me.
Well, I don't
I
think
it's the opposite. I think it's almost added some steam because I think some people out there are going to put that blame on Butch Jones, and they're going to say he made the promises. And
can you imagine the impact that it's going to have on the recruiting? I mean, they're
going to say I don't believe a word he's telling.
And all of these other coaches are going to be out there and like, well, why would you want to go to Tennessee for it? They just lost two 5-star players in a matter of 2 weeks of each other because they don't know what they're doing, and Butch Jones he don't have control of his team, and they're just not a well coached team. And no, I mean, I think that's what I said. I think the loss Saturday against South Carolina, what that team had in front of them, went out. Real good chance that Florida loses at least one more conference game, and you go to Atlanta, and even if you get absolutely just mop the floor again and get beat by Alabama by another 39 points or whatever, I still think that just Butch Jones could have said, "We're back. We won the SEC East," and gosh, I mean, we have gave the Eastern Conference championship away 2 straight years now. 2 straight years. And I know
I got to rewind 3 to 4 minutes here. I have to. I got to talk about this. You saying that it makes you not care, and you don't. Why should you waste your time and this, that, and the other? And I get it. That South Carolina game sucked. It was the lowest of the lows this year. But why are your expectations so high? I know that this was the year for Tennessee to win the East, but at the end of the day, they have 3 losses. And there's nobody left on this schedule that they cannot beat. Does that mean they're going to run the table? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they can and they should run the table and finish 9-3. And why we just talked about it last week. We said 10-2 is great, 9-3 is good, and it hurts a little bit. But to sit here and say that as a Tennessee fan, I deserve 10 wins. We don't deserve anything. Our fan base sets our expectations too high. And again, I agree with you that the South Carolina game sucked. It was a piss poor performance. They did not live up to the expectations. But at the end of the day, let's rally together. The cancer's cut out, and let's finish this thing 9-3 and see what happens. And I don't remember. It may have been Snake that said, well, what are we playing for at this point? We're playing for a bowl game. Let's play. Let's finish. This is not Kentucky and Dooley. That was the lowest of lows, my friend. That was the bottom of the barrel, and we're not at the bottom of the barrel. We're on the way up, and we need to just accept that they didn't execute, they lost. Let's move on.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what they had to play for.
I know that. I know. What do you think? I don't know. Well, I know what they have to play for.
That's what I'm saying. I mean.
And in the words of Jason Phillips, they crapped the bed. I know that. I know they did. But I choose to look to the future. Let's rebound and let's finish this thing off 9-3, and let's go get a bowl win and finish with 10 wins.
Well,
and it is what it is, man.
Well,
it is what it is.
Do you know what will help this program more than anything?
Positive fan.
Is if Arkansas beats Florida Saturday.
Oh God, that's not gonna happen.
Help? You think that'll help? I think if Arkansas wins, they're gonna blow a gasket and say we'd be in control of the East right now. Yeah. We suck and can't beat South Carolina.
I mean, they would be.
If Florida loses
would be people
to LSU also.
People doing
That's when people will change. All of a sudden, all these people that supported Butch those first 5 games,
they'll be in Atlanta.
And now they're ready to fire him.
Yeah.
If something happens and Florida loses to Arkansas and LSU, all of a sudden everything's gonna be forgiven. We're in Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
Like Snake said, they'll have tickets. They'll be down there ready to rock and roll.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, that would happen. There's no doubt that would happen. That's why I said I think that you're going to have people that's going to be moaning and groaning if Arkansas was to beat Florida this week. But there's also going to be people that's going to be like, hey, we take care of these last 3 games. If we can take care of these last 3 games, there's still hope at that point. I worry about the psyche of the team if Florida wins this week.
Oh yeah.
Because then you go in that next week, and believe it or not, if Kentucky was to beat Georgia, I think this week, Kentucky comes into that game against Tennessee with still a shot to win the SEC East.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to waste too much time talking about Tennessee Tech. That's ridiculous. I said it last week. I'm going to a hocky game.
Good for Tennessee Tech, though. They need this money. So
I'm going to listen to it on the radio, because if they lose this game, I don't want to witness it in person. I may go jump off a bridge. I don't know.
Hey,
but
they lose this game, and Chip Kelly may be a reality.
It just made him into a Golden Eagles fan.
No, my eyes did kind of look to the sky, but I will never. I was never that guy that said, "I hope Tennessee loses so Dooley gets fired." Or I've never been that guy.
He'll be one of them purple Eagle fans or whatever they are.
Golden Eagles.
Shut up. No, I won't. We're not predicting a Tennessee Tech score this week. We're predicting Tennessee's record for these last games.
Oh, okay.
So who wants to go first? Tennessee Tech, Kentucky, Missouri, and at Vanderbilt. JP, I'm going to put you. Now you went first last. I'm going to go first this week. Ooh. We all know what I'm going to pick anyway. 4 games left. Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, and at Vanderbilt. What's the record? I'm the optimist. I'm the sunshine pumper. There's no doubt what I'm going to pick here.
Yeah.
My hope is that the cancer is gone. We've cut out the cancer. It's gone. We move on. We see a whole lot of Kelly this week, which is fine. And then when Kentucky comes to town, hopefully Kamara's healthy. Kamara, Kelly, left, right, run it down their throat. Hopefully Dobbs can rebound. The kid has not looked the same since the first quarter of the Alabama game. but I still think they get it done. Tennessee rolls 4-0, 9-3, hoping for 2 Florida losses. Snake, what do you got?
Yep. I agree with you. I think they're going to bounce back from this Jalen Hurd thing. I think the team is going to come together. We're going to get some injured players back. I don't expect us to lose another game this season. And sitting here, the first episode, I said if we beat Florida, I don't care what happens. That's what I said, I believe. So we beat Florida. As long as we don't lose another game, this is going to be a great season, I think. So I think we can go do it. I think we're going to win out.
Who disagrees with that? If I told you that Butch Jones was going to go beat Florida and Georgia this year, would you be sitting there saying, fire Butch, get rid of him?
Yeah, it's just 3 in a row. Yourself. It's hard to take. And then the South Carolina game was just it was a horrible loss.
Well, but, yeah, I mean it was, and I keep going back to it. It was what this team had, the opportunity, and just to play as bad as they did and just uninspired, it just really, it's hard to swallow.
Yeah. You're on the clock, JP. It's your turn. What do you think these last 4 games?
9-3. They better. If they lose to
that's not
if they lose to freaking Kentucky or Vanderbilt or Missouri, then I'm on record right here saying that Butch Jones, he won't be fired, but he ain't gonna make it much longer, because you lose to one of them 3 teams or 2 of them 3 teams, recruiting's gonna be like Dooley-esque, and you're gonna be getting these 2 and 3 stars that that diamond in rough players that we know ain't gonna work, and we'll be back to Arkansas beating us 45-9. So I'm on record for that. You lose one of these 3 conference games, which I'm not even.
You think the fan base is bad now? Let him drop one to Kentucky, Missouri,
I'm telling you. Well, and they're not going to fire him this year. I mean, if he loses to Tennessee Tech, all bets are off then.
If he loses to Tennessee Tech, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to shoot you between the eyes with a gun.
Come on.
I'm just going to commit murder right here on Talkin VAWLS.
I'm on record right here on Talkin VAWLS.
We got hundreds of thousands of people listening to this every single week, Boogie.
Where do you get your analytics?
Hey, but we could very well lose to Kentucky and Vanderbilt.
They ain't no doubt in my mind.
Kentucky scares me.
We're gonna have to come
now.
out and win.
If you can lose to South Carolina, I'm scared of Kentucky.
And Vanderbilt's defense is good.
And Vanderbilt always plays Tennessee tough. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of times Kentucky does too. And I'm telling you, we are so decimated on the defensive side of the ball. We're not going to shut anybody out. That's why it's so important for this offense to get their hind ends in gear and get somebody that can score some points. I mean, that's why to me it's so important to get Alvin Kamara back for that Kentucky game.
Yep.
If Kamara is not back for that Kentucky game, I'm telling you right now, that one, and the thoughts of losing to Kentucky in Neyland Stadium. Jeez almighty. I'm telling you.
Calm down.
He loses another conference game this year, and I'm on record right now telling you, it won't be next year or this year.
You're burning all your stuff. You're burning everything you own.
But he will be fired. I mean, he is not making it any long term. He's not making it, because I'm telling you, the recruiting will come to a screeching halt.
Well, I'm ending this negative Nancy BS, and I'm going back on record like I said last week. Tennessee's defense scores more points than Vanderbilt's offense.
Yeah,
and the Vols will roll to 9-3. That's what I'm saying. We're ending this thing with some positive energy, and as always, you fellas got any parting words for me?
Is it even worth saying carry the fight to Tennessee Tech? I don't know what you say.
No,
good luck. I know what you say. You say good luck, Jalen Hurd, in your future endeavors.
No, you don't say that. Good riddance, quitter. We're moving on.
That's basically what that is, right?
Kamara the fight for 60 minutes.
I'm on.
JP, you got anything you will say to him before we get out of here?
Since this worked so well last week, I'm going to say, go Big Orange and Pig Suey.
Oh God, you just
Yeah.
at least now Snake's pissed at you. Last week I was pissed. Now he's pissed.
Good night.
Oh my goodness, that's gonna wrap
Don't
things up
end it
here
on
for
that.
Talkin VAWLS episode 9. Hit us up on Twitter at TalkinVAWLS_pod, or you can find us on Facebook at TalkinVAWLS_pod. For Jason Phillips and Snake DA, I am Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
Jack Kerouac, he drank himself to death in New England, and I'd like to take his hand and say, Jack, man, it's okay. Now